Yeah, again, just let me know when I gotta step off and then come back in and everything.
Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10,
from Columbus, Ohio, it's Motown Downtown!
Motown Downtown, come on down to Motown Downtown.
Today's guest, Backstory Ben.
Come on down to Motown Downtown.
My name is Tyson Bruno, and here's your host, Mo Chocolate.
Come on down to Motown
What is up, boys and girls? How's it going? And welcome back to episode 3 of season 3 of Motown Downtown. Nice, yes. We took a little break, but now we are back in the swing of things. So thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so I think it's time we announce our next guest, shall we? So drum roll, please. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our very first guest from the hypest stream team on Twitch, the Fifth Dimension. He is best known for his love for all things Disney and video games, and he is very skilled in the arts of Super Smash Brothers. He is no longer part of the backstreet, but instead part of the backstory. So folks, you know him, you love him, put your hands together for the one and only Backstory Ben!
Hey everybody!
What's up, Ben?
Hi, I'm good. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you, first of all, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come here to Motown Downtown Season 3. Thank you very much, thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm thrilled to be here.
Of course, yeah, so for anyone watching who has no idea who you are, go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
All right. Well, as Mo perfectly described before, I am Backstory Ben. I am a huge Disney freak. I love gaming, obviously. Let's see, what else do I do? I sometimes make cards. I went to school for film. What else? I mean, I don't know. I like Mario and video games and Nintendo.
All the above, then, basically, right? That's basically
exactly.
about you. You like all the fandoms, all the above, right?
Yes, 100%.
Nice. So my first question for you is like, how did you get into video games? Like, what are some of your earliest gamer moments? Like, were you Team Nintendo, Team PlayStation, Team Sega, what?
Well, I think I might throw a curveball on that question because the very first video game console I ever owned was a Leapfrog. I don't know if do you know what those are? Leapfrog?
Does anyone in chat know what? I have no idea what that is. What is that?
So it was like it came in a bunch of different varieties. I think the ones I had were like, kind of like a Game Boy-esque kind of thing. I think they have like iPads and like a bunch of like other things that are well past my time. But Leapfrog was kind of like this collection of like educational games. And sometimes they'd have tie-ins with like different franchises. I remember owning a Batman game, like a Cars game. They had some original stuff too. But yeah, it was basically just a console with educational games, and you would play them and stuff. I think that's like technically the first console I've ever owned. But in terms of real consoles, I was a Nintendo boy. I was raised on Mario and Kirby and Smash Brothers, of course, and that sort of stuff. I think I either had a Game Boy Advance first or I had a GameCube first, and then from there I basically owned every console ever since.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So, like, do you have a personal favorite console back in those days?
Back in those days, that's a good question. I remember liking a lot of like Wii games, right? Because I remember when the Wii first came out, it was like this huge thing, and I think my dad even like took forever to get one because like back then all the Wiis were selling out because it was just so massive. But I remember that Christmas, like, I had worries that like we weren't be able to get a Wii, and then my dad came in and was like, "Surprise! I got a Wii!" And I was like, "I got a Wii!"
Nice.
But yeah,
Nice.
my favorite games back then were on the Wii, but I do remember liking a lot of GameCube games as well. I had a lot of different like favorite, GameCube games and Wii games and Game Boy games or advanced games or whatever. Um, but I don't know. The Wii was definitely a game changer, so I'm gonna say Wii was probably my
Nice. A
favorite.
lot of people will agree with that. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, but I believe your father is watching us right now. So if you are, hi there, Papa Backstory. Everyone in chat say hi to Papa Backstory.
Hello, Father. I know I told you about this earlier, so if you're watching, hey.
Yeah, you raised a good son there, Papa Backstory. Okay, so my next question is, Ben, do you have a personal favorite game of all time?
Man, another hard question. Oh my God. Well, I'm gonna think about it in terms of like a game that I've played for the longest amount of time, and that honor goes to a little game called Wizard 101. I don't know if you heard of that.
I have not.
But so the breakdown on Wizard 101 is it's a PC game. It's an MMORPG. There we go. That's it. It came out I think in like 2008ish. I think they just had their 14th birthday not too long ago. So
Okay.
that's how long the game has been going on for. 14 years. Like, man, I basically lived on that or grew up with that game. And back to the premise, it's essentially a game where you play as a wizard. And you're going through all these different places, defeating villains and stuff like that. And the gameplay is turn-based. And you can choose like different classes and their different elements and stuff. Like you have the typical like fire, ice, storm, aka thunder or whatever. Excuse me, or whatever. But you also have some oddballs. Like you have a death class, you have a myth class, and you have a life class. So it's kind of that side of it is pretty interesting, just because you
Yeah.
normally never get stuff like that. But you attack. You attack your enemies with these cards, like spell cards, right? And I thought about it, and I don't know if I ever told you about this, Mo, but way long ago, I started making these cards myself. Like I started designing and like printing out
you
these
have,
cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. Apparently, everything kind of stems from Wizard 101. You have spell cards, you have magic, you have this and that, like turn-based everything. It seems like everything is just kind of culminating into Wizard 101. All of my likes and interests are just stemming from that game. So it's probably somehow had the most impact on me.
So you said you make your own cards, right?
Yes, I do.
Would it be possible to make a Motown Downtown card? Huh?
Oh, I mean, I could very well do that. We could definitely talk about it, because my plan for said cards is I'm making some new cards for Reconnect. And I'll have all of my cards. I'll bring them to Reconnect, and I'll show
Nice.
you guys and everything. I have a huge collection.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we will get to Reconnect soon. But my next question is, okay, so you fell in love with video games, and then you decided to start having a career in content creation. So tell me what that process was like. Like, what was the big deciding factor to be like, I want to make content on the internet? What pushed you down that direction?
So I think it really started when I've basically been growing up on YouTube as well, or watching YouTube, not on YouTube. That's a whole different thing. But like I've been watching YouTubers ever since I was really young. YouTube is essentially my TV.
Yeah.
And so I saw all these people doing all these different like sort of sketch videos. A lot of people were doing gameplay videos and whatever. And as I grew up, I started kind of like finding more specific YouTubers that fit my niches and everything. So because I've been watching all these people make content for the longest time, and also the fact that like I went to college for film, and I learned a bunch of like techniques and stuff like that, like how to work a camera and how to work lighting and mic and everything. I figured now I technically have all the equipment, and like I have the knowledge to be able to make my own stuff, so why not I just make my own stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I believe the first time I streamed was way back in 2017.
Wow.
I essentially had nothing. I had made my own sort of like overlay for my streams and stuff. Like that was like that was always there from the beginning. But I had no webcam. I barely had a functioning mic. I barely had a functioning capture card. But once I had the bare minimum stuff together, I just started streaming, and I had already known a bunch of people from like different communities who knew me, and they would come in. They'd be like, "Oh, hi, Ben," and I'd be like, "Hi, back," and everything. And I would just kind of just chill and play the games and just hang out with people. Right? I
Nice.
didn't want to make it like a
Nice.
huge showstopper thing. I just hung
That's
out,
awesome.
and then yeah. And ever since then, I've just been, improving at it. I've been making my own other overlays. I've been adding some more stuff, more equipment, obviously, and
They grew up so fast.
yeah. I mean,
Pretty
it's what 6 years later, and like I feel like I would like to say I
Good
feel like
job.
I've
You have,
improved
yeah.
a lot of stuff.
Good job. So my next question is, so what? Everyone has a unique story behind their online nickname. So what was the idea behind Backstory Ben? Like, why'd you decide to go with your own name?
Well, that's an interesting backstory. But really, it started. So, like I mentioned before, one of the biggest parts of my life is like writing, right? I love
Yeah.
to write. Even like in grade school, I would always be like writing little stories down in like my notepads or whatever in between school and everything. And I had this one story called The Five Brave Captives. That was like the major front runner for all of grade school, all of middle school, even into high school. And essentially it's about me. Like I inserted myself into the story, and I had a bunch of my friends in there too, and it was essentially just a story of good versus evil, where like we would be fighting against like an evil ghost, whose name was Hair. That's like super simple gist of what that story is about. And then in like around the beginning of high school, I started getting more and more into Disney, which is kind of crazy. I didn't start with my Disney obsession. I started with Nintendo obsession, and then Disney was not too far behind. Basically,
Yeah.
yeah. When I got huge into Disney, or like huger into Disney, I should say, I was like, you know what? I was inspired by this novel series called Kingdom Keepers, which is about like these teenagers who go to work for Disney World, and like they have to fight all the Disney villains, which again is a super simple gist of it. There's a lot of lore in that series, and it's been ongoing since 2005, I believe. But anyway, I was inspired by that, and also just my love of writing, and I was like, why don't I just like do my own version of Kingdom Keepers, where like I insert myself again into all of these different things, which I guess is also very reminiscent of Kingdom Hearts as well. Just like inserting myself into all these different properties and
Yeah.
like just see what I could come up with. And knowing the fact, like the difference is like the person in there has this meta knowledge of everything that happens in the stories. So it's like, how does that play out? How does someone who know all these stories like interact with said characters in said story? And so I had my first character, or my first version of myself for Five Brave Captives, Soldier Ben. And then I was like, oh, but I have this other version of me, so I can't what am I supposed to call him to differentiate him from Soldier Ben? So I thought Backstory Ben, because it's kind of like, oh, I'm exploring like these different different perspectives to these classic franchises.
I like that.
Uh,
That's
yeah.
pretty cool.
That's like
That's
the
a cool story.
origin of the name, but the other sort of like answer I give people when they ask about it, because they have asked about it many times,
Yeah.
naturally, is again, since I'm a writer, I have to know all of my characters inside and out. I need to know their backstories. So Backstory Ben works in the context of that second story I was telling you about, but also in a meta sense where like I'm a writer, I need to know what everyone's deal is. So
I like
it's,
that. That's a pretty awesome
multiple meanings.
backstory. I like that. So, like, okay,
you.
so you go into content creation. Now, let's talk about Twitch streaming. What was like, because you said you went live at what, 2017?
Yes.
Gotcha. So, like, I want to know what, during your whole streaming career, what was the one game that gave you the best streaming experience and the one game that gave you the absolute worst streaming experience? Go.
Oh boy. All right. Well, oh man, where do I begin? So, I remember back in the beginning, uh, I streamed a lot of Jackbox, because that was like a really easy game to play with people, and everyone came in and they could participate. That's what I like about my streams is, I try to incorporate like other people in like voice chat or like just people in regular chat. That's why I like playing a lot of multiplayer games. But Jackbox is always chaotic. It's always really fun. I remember dying laughing a bunch of times when we play a bunch of those games, because it's just how crazy
Yeah,
answers
yeah, we
with
had one
for-
recently and things got pretty crazy, not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
chaotic.
very
for
not
sure.
safe for work, but that's what the game is. That's why it's so much fun.
Exactly. Quiplash especially is like a crowd favorite, so that always goes pretty insane. I would say those days of Jackbox were the best early on, at least. Worst experience on Twitch. Man, I gotta remember because to be fair, either I'm extremely lucky or I just kind of mentally blocked it out of my head. I haven't had a lot of like really bad experiences on Twitch as far as I remember. But I do remember one instance where I had a lot of tech issues.
Mm-hmm.
I was just struggling to like get my camera to work, get my audio to work. It was just exhausting. And I think I got raided by someone or some people. I can't remember the details, but it was just like all these people were coming in and they're like, "Oh, we're raiding." And I'm like, I am not prepared for this. I'm having all these problems. That was just kind of, it was just it's a common issue all streamers
Gotcha.
know very well.
Oh, yeah.
And even then, like the game I was playing was Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, and how do you make that interesting? You can't.
Pretty much,
like
yeah.
people like Pokemon, but like that franchise or that genre, I guess, of game is just hard to keep people interested in. So it was just all these compacting factors that kind of caved in, and it was just like, you know what? Maybe I should just kind of give myself a break a little bit and figure out all these issues before I go live again. And then that didn't happen for 2 months, so I took a pretty sizable hiatus in between that. But
Okay.
that's how it is.
Now, since you've been streaming on Twitch for a long time, for anyone out there watching that wants to start a Twitch career now, what advice would you give for them? People who want to start streaming on Twitch right now. What advice?
So let's see. First, I would say pick a niche and stick with it, right? Mo, maybe you've come across a similar situation, but and this harkens back to like what I was talking about well before about the YouTubers and stuff. So the reason why I follow certain YouTubers is because I know them for doing X thing, right? So for example, I followed HMK and I followed the Gamers Joint, aka Jared, for their Kingdom Hearts stuff, and then I followed who else? I followed Chugga Conroy for his essentially basically Nintendo Let's Plays and stuff like that. So I would say if you want to start streaming, and especially if you want to start building an audience, I would say stick to one game, or at least like one kind of genre or one sort of niche or something that's similar, but just like stick to one thing, do that over and over again. And I think that's how you're going to build an audience. They're going to come for the game, but then they're going to stick for you. And you don't need a webcam. You don't need like the best audio.
Yeah.
That stuff comes later with, practice and, just when you can, afford to get that sort of stuff. But again, if you want to grow an audience, definitely stick to one thing, at least for a while, build an audience, and then you can start branching out. And you'll see how like everyone sticks around, or if you gain more people because you're doing different things. But definitely stick to one thing first is my advice.
Nice. So my next question is: so you're streaming on Twitch. How did you come across HMK and the Fifth Dimension? How'd you come across them?
So, I came across HMK himself through, like I just mentioned, the Gamers Joint, Jared. Since I think 2013 or 14, he was the sole Kingdom Hearts person that I had followed
Okay.
on YouTube and like watched all of his content and stuff back then. And then I remember he and the rest of the Keykeepers were like, I think at like PAX or something, or like some convention or something, where they were all together in the same room. And then I was watching Jared's stream, and he had introduced me to HMK and all the other people. And so I didn't even realize that there were like other Kingdom Hearts YouTubers at the time. So this was like, oh, cool, more people I can follow and like see how they tackle the franchise and stuff. And then the Dandelion meeting happened in 2017.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't remember what the Dandelion meeting was, it was the official Square Enix and Disney ran Kingdom Hearts event that happened in LA, and this was specifically around Union Cross, right?
Yeah.
So I was planning on going anyway because I had a bunch of friends who were going as well, and then I just happened to notice that Agent K was going as well. So we were all there, and I met up with him. I chatted with him for a little bit, and so that's solidifying me knowing HMK. And then from that point, from that point on, I had watched his stuff. Then he announced that he was going to do a stream team, aka the Fifth Dimension, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. I wonder who's going to like add on to the team. It would be cool to like join a stream team, because one, I know him, and two, this was I think a good step in my Twitch career, right?
Yeah.
So I remember it was either the first or second wave of applicants. And when he made the announcement that I had joined the team, well, one, I was flabbergasted. I was like, oh my god, like, I didn't expect this at all. I thought he was gonna get like bigger people, but he announced it while I was on vacation. I was out of town, and I was at my my cousin's beach house, and I was like, oh. All right, this came out of nowhere, and then I rewatched the stream, and like he announced all the names, and he got to mine, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. I feel so validated. Thank you, HMK, and everything. So that was very exciting. And I remember back in the early days, we did a lot of like collaborative streams with each other.
Among Us and stuff, and Fall Guys.
Among Us. Those were the days.
Yeah.
Those were the days. But
and that's how we met, Ben. Had it not been for the 5D, the second wave, that's how you and I met. Had that not happened, this right now, this moment of time would have never happened. So thank you very much, HMK, for making this possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, HMK. But yeah, and again, Mo said it, that's when I met him, and ever since then, my friend circle has been gradually getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm very appreciative of like all the people I meet, through Twitch and stuff, and all these communities, because had I not known that Twitch and Discord were a thing, I wonder how many friends I would have in real life. So, but again, that's the magic of online. It's just you find people.
How has the 5D, the Fifth Dimension, improved your Twitch streaming career?
Well, I've definitely been getting a lot of advice from members like you. I remember asking you for advice back in the day. Andy as well. Who else? I'm trying to remember who else is in the team that I've talked to. Well, it was you two, and then Steven, that's another one. Brett. So again, not only because the team had allowed me to meet all of you guys, but whenever I would have any questions at all, I know I could come to you guys, and we would be able to like work out a solution to my problem, even if we didn't know how to make it work. So it's just this collaborative back and forth that we do with each other, and like we support each other and help each other grow. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from being in the stream team is just again this sense of camaraderie and kumbaya and stuff like that, and just expanding the network and just improving each other and giving each other critiques. That's the biggest thing you could ask for when you want to do this more often. So
So now that we got all that out the way, let's talk about Super Smash Brothers, shall we? Yes, because you, Ben, my God, you are really fucking good at Smash Brothers, man. You really are. But
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. But my question is, what out of all the Smash Bros. Announcements, who was your favorite and least favorite character? Reveal.
All right. Well, I gotta start off strong with the positive. I've only asked for one character out of anyone in the history of video games.
Yep.
That was that boy right there. That boy right there, Sora. When it's small story about that because it's gonna sound very familiar. When Sora was announced for Smash, I was also out of town. And I couldn't record my reaction to it because I know I would have.
How much did you, bro? How much did you scream? Tell me.
Well, it was really early in the morning when I found out that he was in a game at like 7 a.m. or whatever. So my throat, I physically couldn't scream, but in my heart, I was just like, yes! You know, like that kind of thing, crazy. I was going insane. And that, especially when that one image of Mario and Sora shaking hands,
yeah,
I still can't believe that's real.
Me neither. I can't.
It's just like, you know, I'm flabbergasted. Oh my God, it's so perfect. It's so perfect in so many layers.
Yeah.
That is a thing that happened, especially because, you know, I would assume Nintendo would have had to have asked Disney to be like, hey, can our characters make physical contact with each other, like shake hands? And they'd be like, sure, go for it, you know? It's just that kind of, and especially because my two loves were Disney and Nintendo, them shaking hands is so emblematic of just all of my like interests and loves coming together. Like the entire world is now collided into one thing because of that one image. So
agreed.
You can tell I'm very excited that Sora's here.
So how about least favorite now?
Least favorite? That's the weird thing about me. I look at the Smash roster and I'm like, all these, they're one giant family.
Yeah.
And, like everyone in the Smash roster deserves to be there, in my opinion. And I just love all these idiots now, right? Because it's Smash. That's what Smash does. Like it introduces you to new genres. Obviously, that's like the biggest selling point. But it's also just a coming together of so many icons, and it just becomes one big family. So I don't know if I have like any character that I was like, you know, mad about or like hate, but I can name one character that I had no reaction to, and that was probably Terry. And it's not because Terry doesn't deserve to be here. Once again, I gotta stress that. It's just I literally had no idea who Terry was. I think I may have seen what's her name, Mai from that same franchise. I may have seen her like once before, like in some YouTube video or just some random or whatever. Yeah, YouTube video. But King of Fighters, Fatal Fury, like SNK as a whole, like I just had no idea who they were. And I think that was probably the sort of consensus with at least North America. It's like we were like, oh, who's this guy? But you know, when Terry got announced right after, you know, the reveal of Banjo and everything, who I did know, and I was excited that everyone like got him as a fighter. I was just like, oh, okay. I don't know anything about this character, but you know, I might as well like look into the history and everything. And I'm sure he's a big icon. And then turns out, yeah, he's a massive icon. So that I think that would kind of be the character.
Gotcha. For me, bro, it was Minecraft. I'm just like, get this shit out of here. I was not a fan at all. Like I woke up at 9 a.m. I'm watching the thing. And when it was Minecraft, I turned everything off and went back to bed. I was not a happy camper. But yeah, so speaking of Sora, why do you think, cuz and you've witnessed this, me going back and forth with people in Discord, on Twitter, on why Sora can get into Smash Bros. There were so many debates for 7 freaking years, man. Why do you think it was so hard for people to grasp the concept of Sora in Smash Bros?
Well, I really just think it comes down to personal preference, not general preference. Personal preference. That's the key word here. I being someone who observes like a lot of different mediums and like fans of those mediums, like aka film Twitter and film TikTok and like video game Twitter and TikTok and a bunch of stuff. I feel like a lot of it has, or a lot of the reasons why people poo-poo on certain characters or ideas or anything, just kind of comes down to subjectiveness. Because
Yeah.
like if someone that I didn't care about or was indifferent to like made this big ordeal, or for example, if some random ass character I didn't know got into the game, I for one wouldn't look for ways to complain about it, right? Because I personally just don't see the point in complaining. There's valid there's a validness to critiques, right?
Yeah.
Obviously critiques are how people get better at like art and everything and films and video games and whatever. But there's just there has to be a line between critiquing something to see it be improved or just complaining about it just because you don't care or like that a certain thing happened or whatever, right? That's how I view it as. Again, because film Twitter goes off on like the most random ass things, and people complain about so many random things. But and I'm sure everyone has like this subconscious sort of like thought in their minds. It's like, oh yeah, you're just it's just subjective. It's just your personal preference. Don't you're complaining about something that only you would care about, right? Or that or only matters to you. But that's how I imagine all the people for Sora were like. They kept listing off all these different reasons, like, oh, Disney, Nomura, Disney would. I remember people were like, Disney is gonna buy Nintendo if this happens, and like, no, 100% no. That's the lamest excuse that I've heard of.
I agree. So my next question would be, like, Ben, if you were in charge, because we all know another Smash Bros. Character is coming. A game, wow. We all know another game's coming. If you were in charge of one character in the game, who would it be and why?
I think I'm gonna go with the most basic ass answer and go with Crash, because Crash Bandicoot specifically, but Crash got like a resurgence with the It's About Time, his like fourth installment, and then also the remakes. He's back in the spotlight, and I again have never owned anything PlayStation until 2017. And even I knew who Crash was. Even I knew who Spyro was. Even I knew who like some of these like massive PlayStation icons were because of just word of mouth. But I feel like anyone will be able to tell you who Crash is.
Yes.
At least in characters that aren't Smash now that like are yet to come. So again, I'm gonna go with the basic answer, Crash, just because again, since Smash is the icon thing,
I feel like our homie, shout out to Andy Brew. In fact, can one of the mods give a shout out to Andy Brew, please? Thank you very much. If Crash were to be announced for Smash Bros., I'm pretty sure his reaction would be similar to mine when Sora was announced for Smash Bros. Just throw his chair, take his shirt off, just go freaking in bananas.
Yeah, no, he would go insane, and I would be super happy for him because, again, Crash is just a household name. Like, I'm so shocked that, like, they even gave him, like, a Mii costume or anything.
Yeah.
It's just, that's how baffled I am about that, just because, household name, there you go. But I guess it makes sense to, like, kind of, like, give attention to some lesser, I shouldn't say lesser, because that's mean, but, like, some, more niche franchises, right, in terms of Mii costumes at least, and other things like that. But yeah, again, it was sort of built up like, oh, there's no Crash stuff, there's no Spyro stuff, maybe, right? And then lo and behold, Sora comes out, and that's the end of Smash development, at least for this round, and no Crash anything, and it's just wild.
Yes. So speaking of Sora, I think it's time we talk about Kingdom Hearts. Y'all ready? You ready to talk about Kingdom Hearts, Ben? You ready?
I am very thrilled to talk about Kingdom Hearts. I can talk about it all day.
By your poster behind you, there's no way I could tell you are a fan. So,
Yeah, wow.
my question is, when you first saw Kingdom Hearts for the very first time, what was your first initial thought, and how were you introduced to the whole series?
Yes, I've been waiting to tell this story because it's going to be very fascinating. So even though I was raised on Nintendo, and even though I have a massive love for Disney throughout my entire life, I had no idea what Kingdom Hearts was until 2012, if you could believe it.
What?
Yes.
2012?
Yes. I somehow missed Chain of Memories on the Game Boy, and I somehow missed both games on the DS. Somehow. Me not knowing anything about PlayStation or never owning a PlayStation thing, like that makes sense that I wouldn't know what Kingdom Hearts 1 or 2 were or anything like that.
Trust
I
me,
feel like
Ben. Trust
those
me,
would've
Ben.
been,
When it comes to Chain of Memories, you're not missing much. Just saying. Just saying. Hey, sir! Put down your pitchfork. That was a joke. Anyway, carry on, Ben.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I somehow dodged Kingdom Hearts throughout my entire life until 2012, when a friend of mine told me, "Oh, there's this new Disney game that's coming out on the 3DS. It's called Dream Drop Distance." And I was like, "What is that? Wait, what's Kingdom Hearts? What's this?" And then he explained it to me, "Oh, it's a Disney game where like you fight with weapons and all that stuff." And I was like, "Oh, that's so cool! Like I didn't know that this was a thing." So the very first Kingdom Hearts experience I've ever had in my entire life was the 3DS demo for Dream Drop Distance in 2012.
Incredible.
And I remember,
Incredible.
when I downloaded the demo, I played it out, and I think if I remember correctly, the demo is Traverse Town. You play as Sora, and you have just like the default Dream Meters, right?
Yeah.
And the demo ends when you fight Haka Monkey, like the first version.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember replaying that over and over and over again because I loved the magic system. Well, because Kingdom Hearts, I think in general was pretty new to me. And so like the combat was really fun, and then me having a love of magic, that kind of thing. I saw Sora was able to perform really cool magic, especially Spark. I remember that was like the thing that sold me, and I was like, "Oh, that's so cool! Oh man, I love this! I can't believe I didn't know that this was a thing."
But how confused were you? Because you skipped like 10 games. You've been like, "Who's Sora? Who's Riku? Why are they going to Dreamland? What?" You know what I mean?
Yeah. So when I finally bought the game proper, that same year. Funny story about that. I bought it when we were out of town. We went to Vegas, and I remember getting it at a mall in Vegas. So again, all these like big events are happening when I'm not home, apparently. Yeah. So I bought the game. I was playing through it. I knew what all the stuff was. Like I knew what Hunchback was. I knew what Tron Legacy was. I knew what Pinocchio was. Like I knew all the Disney stuff because that was what hooked me, right? The Disney stuff. I was just going through the motions. In terms of like the original plot stuff, I guess I was confused somewhat. Like I recognized faces and names, like from what I could gather from again just playing it and like not knowing anything about it. But then like a bunch of characters would pop up and I'd be like, wait, who's that? Wait, okay, they're gone now. All right, bye. When it especially kind of came together when you go to the world that never was, aka the final world in that game, and you have all these cameos like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know Sora and I know Riku. I don't know anyone else. And I know the villains, but I don't know anyone else. I'm so lost. And weird trippy things are happening, and so I was very confused. But you would think that would, what words am I looking for? Turn me away. There we go.
Yeah.
You would think the confusion would turn me away from Kingdom Hearts because all those memes like, oh, Kingdom Hearts is so confusing. Blah, blah, blah. But you know what? No. I was so invested to find out everything about this franchise from playing that game because I was so confused that I read all of the reports in the game. Afterwards, I watched all the cutscenes from all the games, and I would start to piece things together.
That's a
and
lot of reading, bro.
Yeah, a lot of reading, but again, it worked out in my favor because now I'm a huge fan. So I always like telling that story because I know most people started with 1 or they started with 2.
I
Or they
started
started
with,
with some random other game.
I started
right?
with 2, but like not
Gotcha.
10. Because it's crazy because the one game you jump into is where they announce time traveling. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
it was already pretty fucking confusing, but they just like poured gasoline of confusion onto it. So
Exactly. The
props
first
to
thing
you
you
for
see.
still sticking around.
Yeah, exactly. The first thing you see when you open up the game, at least on the 3DS version, is Kingdom Hearts 10th anniversary. So that should tell you that I've missed a lot of stuff. But yeah, it's just so weird to me that out of every entry in the game, I can sort of make like a logical conclusion to why certain games in the franchise would be your first. 1 is the very first one, 2 was the most popular one, others, so on and so forth. But out of all of the entries in the game, I think Dream Drop Distance is probably the weirdest one to start with. And that's still debatable, and I'm open to debate that with
Yeah,
whoever
yeah.
wants to do that. But just the amount of information that they pack into that game regarding, especially Kingdom Hearts 3, because that's like the culmination of the saga, the first saga. You have cameos from so many people in just a short amount of time, and it's just completely wild to me that I was able to survive that and
Yeah.
come out being a much bigger fan.
So when did you go
But
back and
I'm
play
so-
like the previous games and like 1, 2, and Birth by Sleep and stuff?
Yeah, and that's why I got my PlayStation 4 in 2017 was because 2.8 was coming out, right? So
Yeah.
that was like new content. And then 1.5 and 2.5 came out for that. That's when I officially finally played the games for myself, and I loved all the games. I loved the gameplay of all of them. So I'm again super mega hooked, and
Nice.
so excited.
That's
for
awesome, buddy.
PlayStation.
That's awesome. So now that we got that out the way, I wanna discuss Kingdom Hearts 3 because it's a very touchy subject. I personally love the game after Remind, but like for you, what was your experience like? Were you not a fan of 3, or did you love it after Remind? What?
So, again, the whole hype around 3 was really built up with all these trailers and
Yeah.
information coming out, like, kind of shortly after the game was coming out, right? We got, like, a whole swath of, like, trailers in 2018, I remember. And then even in 2017, they were starting to, like, get the ball rolling with all these trailers and information and stuff like that. So I was, again, I was automatically sold on 3 no matter what they showed, right? But, like, I think 3 specifically, the format that they went through with how they revealed certain things was what really kind of elevated it for me, because a lot of the trailers from 2017 onwards were specifically focused on all the Disney worlds. Like, we knew every Disney world that was coming to the game.
Yeah.
Before it released, right? So when we got Toy Box, and then we got Monstropolis, and we got Arendelle and San Francisco and Kingdom of Corona and all that stuff. I liked the method that they structured all the stuff with Disney Worlds and then some plot relevant stuff. It just sold me even more because once again, I will remind everyone that I am a Disney freak, so I come to Kingdom Hearts for the Disney first and the original plot later, which is not a bad thing.
Nice.
Like, I'm not saying the plot's a bad thing or anything, but if you show me all the worlds and like show me the fidelity and like the characters interacting with each other and like new Disney content, that's just gonna hype me up even more. So when I first got the game, I remember, as most people did, I remember like just locking myself in my room, my dorm room, and I just played the hell out of it, like blasted through it as much as I could.
There was no experience, bro, popping in KH3 for the first time and seeing that title screen. There is
Yeah.
no words to describe
No
how
way.
that feels. Because unlike you, lucky bastard, I had to wait over 13 years, okay? So to see
Yeah,
it
that's
right
very
in front
true.
of me was still so jarring.
Yep.
So like that's one thing, yeah.
All I had was Dream Drop Distance, Union Cross, and then 2.8. That's all I had. That's all the time I needed to wait. So now you can imagine the wait for KH4 and Missing Link have been grueling for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when I popped it in, I just loved every second of it. I loved all the changes they made to the combat. Or not changes, really additions, because they added literally everything in from the entire franchise together. That's that I think that's one of the main things that people were complaining about. It was like, you know, it's so easy. The game's so easy, and like you have all these options, and like magic is broken, and like who cares about attraction flow? And I'm like, I don't know. I like flash. I like how flashy this franchise is with its attack animations and everything. I love the flash of it, the style of it, and that's why I keep coming back to it, just because. You know, I like stringing all these things together, right?
Donald didn't annoy you with look, we found a good spot to find ingredients, blah blah blah.
No, I
didn't
actually
annoy
found it
you?
really endearing, and I found it endearing. And then every time he and Goofy and Sora would say that, I would have to like stop where I am and like look around because they hide them so well. And I'm
Yeah.
like, they helped me more than not, right? But yeah, that traction flow, I will be the like biggest supporter of, because you know, Disney parks, I didn't expect that. Like that was so cool, getting Disney park rides in the game.
Yeah.
And I will die on this hill. I love them so much, and I will turn on all the animations. I will do everything to make it as flashy as possible, and I will have just a grand old time. And then, you know, Remind came out, and like they made the combat better. Like, not that it was bad before, but they made it better than it already was. And then they added all these, you know, the data fights and Yozora and everything, and like that really gave me a further appreciation of like boss design, right? In KH2, it felt like a lot of the bosses were either too easy or they were just so impossible that you had to kind of cheat to win, right? But in Case 3, it feels like all of them are so nicely balanced in a way that, yeah, you're going to get your ass handed to you, especially when you don't know what you're doing. But that just incentivizes you learn their patterns and learn, like, experiment, especially.
Yeah.
I remember before Remind, everyone was complaining about the super boss, Dark Inferno, and I was like, you know what? I love Dark Inferno. I love him so much. I love
Yeah.
him more than any of the BBS super bosses and KH2 super bosses, just because, again, he's a prime example of like experimentation. You can do any combo you want on Dark Inferno, and you can succeed, and you can pull off some really flashy stuff again. And it's just a playground for you to explore and everything. Cage 3 really gives you a lot of freedom in terms of what you want to do, and that's why I appreciate it so much.
Love it. Love KH3 without a doubt. So, Ben, my next question is, when the fuck is Kingdom Hearts 4 coming out?
Well, first we need Missing Link, and we have no idea what's going on with Missing Link, so we'll have to find out about that. In terms of Cage 4, well, we're already halfway through 2023, so I guarantee you it's not going to be until 2024 at the earliest. If they push it back to 2025, I wouldn't be mad. It's got to be 24 or 25. That's my guess. I
Okay.
hope it's 24, right?
Okay.
Just because, you know, they have less work to do to get the game finalized. Most of the work has already been done with Cage 3 and Remind and stuff like that. So all they got to do is just, you know, take their time, go slow, figure everything out, and, you know, announce some things here and there, and then, you know, we'll see what happens with 2024.
All right. That's a good number, yeah?
Yeah.
KH4 in 2024,
Exactly.
basically.
That's a new numbering system we're gonna do. It's gonna be number year, you know. We
Okay.
gotta start making 4 a new Kingdom Hearts number,
Yes,
as opposed to
yes.
7 and 13.
So my next question is, so what Disney worlds would you love to see in KH4?
Okay. I know this was a big talking point when we got that first initial trailer. If Star Wars is coming, that's gonna be amazing. Just because with KH3, we already pushed the envelope with including Pixar, right? So, you know, the next logical conclusion for the next number title would be to kind of push it even further with Star Wars. I think I will be very surprised if they include Star Wars and Marvel in the same game. I doubt it's gonna happen, but I'm not gonna write out the possibility either, just because I didn't even expect we'd get Toy Story and Monsters Inc. in 3, right? Oh, and technically Ratatouille as well. But Star Wars really interests me just because it's so thematically perfect for it. Like,
Yes.
The MCU, Star Wars, and KH, I always say, are cut from the same cloth. They all feel like the exact same property, which is not a bad thing. It's it's just funny to see all the similarities between all of them.
How
So
crazy
I
would it
think
be to
Star
see
Wars would be
Spider-Man in Cage 4, man?
That would be
crazy would that be?
insane too. Yeah, I mean, we already know that Sora has like that grappling hook ability with with the plane, so like that's the perfect
Maybe
translation
he
of
learned
Spiderweb.
that from Spider-Man, maybe.
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
If Quadratum is kind of like a hub for a lot of like city-based locations, then we could get New York somewhere in there and like have it fit well with Shibuya and whatever.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. It's funny what the possibilities are for that. But at bare minimum, I'm just gonna expect Star Wars and that's it. And then Marvel will probably come later.
Yeah, that'd
In
be
terms
awesome.
of other stuff, man, what else? Well, we need to include more Pixar because we got to keep that train rolling. And I think one of the most fitting worlds for Cage 4 in terms of Pixar is Coco. It just makes too much sense with like the whole
Coco?
yeah, Coco, like death
yes,
passing on
yes.
sort of aspect of it, right?
That'd be awesome, yeah.
We already know Donald and Cooper are going to the underworld to talk to Hades about like, dead Sora. And what we know from Dark Road about, the underworld somehow having a connection to Quadratum, or at least the final world, or like other things. Essentially, underworld now reaches further past the sphere of Hercules, right? That's what I'm trying to get at. So if we have the Land of the Dead thrown into the mix as well, we could also have more possibilities to get answers or questions answered with that world, right?
Yeah.
So visually interesting, thematically appropriate, a well-beloved franchise. It just makes too much sense to
Yes.
pass on Coco.
I agree. So next, speaking of Kingdom Hearts, I want to talk about KH20 from last year because you went to KH20, right? Tell
Yes,
me
I did.
some of your favorite memories from KH20.
Okay, well, I remember one of the events that's returning this year is something called Kingdom Hearts Melody of Madness, which is, obviously pun on Melody of Memory. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm notoriously bad with names and especially music. Like I hear music and I can only think of like maybe a vague sort of idea of where that music takes place. But if you ask me to name any Kingdom Hearts song, I will probably fail like 100 out of 100 times before I get it. So when we did that event, I remember like they would play these random songs from the franchise, and it would be all the weird ones with weird names. And I would somehow know the name of that one, and I'd recognize the tune and name the tune and everything. I remember the one I got right was Liam. God, I gotta pronounce this. Limpento Obscura, I think is what it's called, or Obscuro, or whatever. And I think that's what is it? It's either Zenith's theme or Young Xenos theme. I can't remember for the life of me. Again, there you go. Me not knowing songs to people. But when I got that, everyone was so impressed, and I was like, yes. And I think you can actually like watch. I think Guides has it on his YouTube of all the different events and stuff because we streamed it, and you can see the moment where I like pop off by getting it. I just thought that was really funny.
I gotta find this clip, and yes, could someone in chat link the Reconnect site, please? If anyone wants to come along, there's the Reconnect site. So moving on, because now we're gonna talk about Reconnect, because you, me, and some of the people watching, we're all going to Reconnect this September. So
Yes, we are.
my question is, like, what are like some of your favorite, like, what's the one thing you're looking forward to the most from Reconnect this year, besides meeting me?
Let's see. Well, I mean, you nailed it on the head. It really mostly just comes down to like us hanging out in person. I think that's
Yes.
like, we talk all the time on here in Discord and just like online in general, right? But it's such a whole different experience when you're like in the same room with them, and like all the energy we have from talking online just gets amplified, right? So meeting all you guys again was gonna be a lot of fun, especially since now I know more faces to names, right? Because last year I knew a bunch of names but not faces. So now I finally know like what people look like and names and everything, and I'm more comfortable with like a lot of the people who are going. I think it's gonna be a better experience. Other than that, though, I'm still excited about what different events are gonna be here. We know a lot of the events from last year are coming back, per that Reconnect Direct that they had on my birthday, coincidentally.
Nice.
Um, and uh, and that still leaves room for more surprises, right? I know the cosplay contest is coming back. Last year there
Yes.
was some really impressive stuff. Like
Yeah.
I forgot his name, but there was this one guy who had on like the full like lingering will like
He was
terrorist
awesome.
armor.
He was
That-
fucking awesome. And he
that
made
was
that shit
really
all
awesome.
by himself. Shout out
Yes.
to him.
I
Amazing.
know that was. I wish I remembered his name,
Yeah.
but I that was awesome, and like all the other cosplayers were amazing too. I believe Violet on Verse is what her name is. She makes a lot of stuff, and I know I'm probably gonna see her again. Maybe we'll see. But one hope I'm hoping for, there we go, words, is last year we had another event where we basically table read a bunch of scenes from the franchise, and that was another
Yes.
highlight of last year as well. I remember I sat down and I read for Mickey, for a few scenes. One in particular, the ending scene or ending confrontation of Mickey, Riku, and young Xehanort from Dream Drop Distance. So it all comes full circle.
Time out, Ben. Time out. You can do a Mickey Mouse voice.
Well, I don't know. Can I do a Mickey Mouse voice? I'd have to, I have to double check. But yeah. So it was a lot of fun. being
That's
able to,
pretty spot on. That's pretty good. Pretty good.
Thank you.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Sora, Riku. Oh. Yeah. In Mo, if you go back and like watch that table read, do you remember in that ending scene of Dream Drop Distance where Ansem attacks Riku and Zenith attacks Mickey? Like Mickey's climbing up the power, and then Zenith, boom,
Yeah.
I had to do that, and everyone was just dying when that
Oh,
happened. But I'm hoping that comes back because that was a whole lot of fun, especially since we have guides as Donald and we have Kokiri as Goofy. We have myself and probably some other people as Mickey, and everyone else had some really cool stuff.
It's going to be a lot of fun, buddy. It really is.
Yes.
But my
Yes,
last
yes.
question for you is, I guess it's kind of a two-parter. What are some of your, because I believe you have some of your viewers from your Twitch watching us right now. Hello. So what would you say is some of your future plans for Twitch streaming? And is there anyone you want to give a shout-out to?
Yeah, so coming up on Monday as well as Wednesday, I'm going to be doing 2 streams with a friend of mine who is, I think, a recent addition to the Fifth Dimension. His name is Cybertech Werewolf. He just came back from was it 6 or 7 month tour? Because he's in the Navy. So, he was out, doing his duty and everything. And he just recently came back. And on Monday and Wednesday, I'm going to be doing a couple collab streams with him. We're going to be playing Minecraft. And
Nice.
as well as Wizard 101. So that's
Nice.
going to be Monday and Wednesday. In terms of other streams, I'm hoping to continue my playthrough of Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope because I just recently started that game and I love it. I never played the first Mario and Rabbids game, but this sequel is so good, and all the DLC starting to come out for it. So I was just like, you know what? I think now is the right time to get into it. So I'm hoping to continue my playthrough of that. And in terms of other things, I assume I'm gonna be like doing some collab streams with another Fifth Dimension member, Keyblade Brett. He's doing a Disney Games marathon as of right now, and he's about to hit the PS1 or 2 era, I believe.
All right.
But then like later down the line, he's gonna be doing a lot of the multiplayer Disney games. So I'm sure he's going to be asking me to join him for that, which is going to be very exciting. And besides that, I don't know. I might throw in some random Jackbox streams, or like I might join in for Mario Kart or Mario Party, or any other multiplayer games like maybe Disney Speedstorm. I'm going to try and get some of my friends to play Sea of Thieves with me again because I've been really missing that game. And yeah, it's just a whole cavalcade of different things. So if any of you guys are interested in that, definitely feel free to stick around.
Yeah, let's get a shout out for Backstory Ben, please. And anyone you want to shout out real fast before you wrap this up.
Well, like I mentioned before, Cybertech Werewolf, Keyblade Brett, you, of course, since we're here. I
Aw,
want to
thank
give
you.
a shout out to you as well. Born Kokiri, Princess Kaiora, T. Shaw, Mr. Prince. Oh, actually, that's one more thing we might be doing later on. So I am one of the founding members of the Dreamlock. And
Oh
for those
yeah, oh
of you who
yeah,
don't
I've
know what
seen that.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know, we're going to be doing our third installment of Dreamlock. It's probably going to be a month or two from now, or maybe later. But eventually we're going to be coming back to that again, and we're going to add some more spice to that event. Yeah, that's me, Mr. Prince, and T. Shaw. It's always going to be the three of us. I believe I'm going to try and get Keyblade Brett to join us for that as well. So that's going to be 4, and then we may add some more members in too. We'll see.
I look forward to that. And thank you to the mods for shouting all the friends out. Thank you. Best mods on Twitch. Thank you very much. Okay, so we are gonna wrap things up with everyone's favorite segment of the show called Top 10 Questions on Motown Downtown.
Top 10 questions. You got the questions. Top 10 questions. I got the answers. Top 10 questions. Better get your answers ready.
Where I will ask my guests 10 questions courtesy of Inside the Actor's Studio. So, Ben, are you ready?
I am ready.
Alrighty, so the first question is, what is your favorite word?
My favorite word is... Boy. I think my favorite word is... Okay, well, it's not necessarily a word, it's more of a phrase. My favorite phrase is fair enough. I feel like I say that a lot in different scenarios, and it's kind of a semi catchphrase I have. So I'm gonna go with that.
Nice. Okay. So, what is your least favorite word?
Boy, oh man, what word triggers me the most? That's, Ooh, I got it. Attention. That's my least favorite word. When someone says pay attention, I'm like, I am though. I'm trying to. I'm, you know. So.
Gotcha. So tell us, Ben, what makes you happy?
Oh man, what makes me happy? What makes me happy the most is when people are excited for anything in particular. Like if you just like came back from watching a really good movie, or if you like if you're hyped about some certain thing and you want to like talk hours on end about this certain topic, and I can tell how happy they are about it. That's what really gives me you know, again, happiness in return, just because I love seeing people, you know, not being down in the dumps, or not, you know, being, or not wallowing in their own like complaints.
You like seeing people happy, basically.
Yes, essentially, I like seeing people happy and hyped.
Nice.
For things.
All right, so tell us, what makes you upset?
The thing that makes me upset is when, because it happens to me all the time, but when people overthink certain things. Like, again, example, like very specific example is, you know, when people okay, actually, you know, I'm gonna go into small semi-rant mode.
That's fine.
So one of my favorite Pixar franchises is Cars, right? Cars is one of my favorite Pixar franchises, and you know, it's a very common thing amongst film Twitter and stuff like that, that people love to complain about how the world of Cars makes no goddamn sense. And I'm like, guys, that's not the point. You don't need to know how Cars built all these buildings and all these streets and all these signs. Just enjoy the story and the characters. Just don't think about it too much. Just turn your brain off and think. Turn your brain off and just, you know, go just enjoy. That's because it happens to me all the time too. I always do that day-to-day life, so I always have to, like, you know, kind of pull myself back.
So next question is, what sound or noise do you love?
Sound or noise that I love. Ooh, I got an idea. Okay, I really like electric guitars, like in songs. Like, there's certain songs I listen to where you'll usually like kind of like have like soothing instrumentals, in the background, and then it'll come in with like the really powerful like the like electric guitar, like kind of like pulsing sort of, and you can feel like the bass and like the pulse of it. And it just hits you in the right spot, and that's what I love a lot.
Okay. So what sound or noise do you hate?
I really hate when oh yes, okay, I got the perfect one for this. I really hate when I accidentally so I take two forks, right, and like I sometimes use two forks to like scoop up pasta or whatever. I really hate it when those two forks interlink and then you try and pull them apart and it makes like that really like eerie screeching sound, like
yeah
that kind of thing. That's the worst. I hate that noise. It's kind of like nails on a chalkboard, but like more metallic, and it's worse that way.
Gotcha. So, backstory Ben, what is your favorite curse word?
Boy, my favorite curse word has got to be I think it's bitch, but you have to say it in a certain way. You got to be like bitch. It's the way you say it is how it adds so much like comedic effect to it. That's my favorite one.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, bitch, I like that.
Yeah, so gratifying.
Okay. Okay. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Weird. So if we, minus all of the okay, I'm gonna keep this in the film world because there's some things I'm better at in the film world than others. I really wish I was better at costume design because that's one of the biggest things I love about films and TV and just visual media in general is character design is one thing, but costume design is another thing. Like I would love to be able to design elaborate costumes like you would see on like in Star Wars productions or Fire Emblem or whatever. Like Fire Emblem costumes are just chaotic, but they're so perfect. I love all of the costume designs on the Fire Emblem characters. So I wish I was skilled enough to make stuff like that on my own.
Alrighty. So, what profession would you not like to attempt?
Definitely, maybe electrician. I feel like, one, there's a lot of danger when it comes to being an electrician.
Yeah.
Or potential danger, I should say. But two, I'm just so worried that I would, like, accidentally fail. And then, when one thing fails, in terms of technology and like electricity, a million other things fail. So I would be way too self-conscious and anxious about like trying to be as perfectionist as I can, and then I know that's gonna make me mess up, so I would not want to do that at all.
All right. So the last question is, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh boy. Let's say. I think I would just want him to tell me that I did a good job, like on Earth, Yeah, because nothing seems more gratifying than like having someone tell you that
God
you did
good job, boy. Basically.
Yeah, you did good, son. You did good, and I was like, I would hope so, but I'm glad to hear it from the man himself,
Well, let's get one more round of applause for my very good friend Backstory Ben. Ben, thank you so much for coming out tonight. This was a great interview. This might be the best episode we've had so far. So thank you again, Ben, for coming out. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was so thrilled to be here, and thank you so much for letting me on. I really do appreciate it, Mo.
Okay, so we're gonna find somebody to raid. So I think we're gonna raid T-Shaw because you mentioned him before when we were since he's part of that thing you mentioned about. So while I get that raid started, what do you want the raid message to be?
I have a good one. So T-Shaw loves Vexen.
Yeah.
He loves Vexen is T-Shaw's favorite Kingdom Hearts character. So what we need to do is
Yeah.
So what we
one
need
more
to do
game.
is we need to oh my god. How about I got one. Okay, so how about the raid message be love and kisses from Vexen?
Love and
or,
kisses.
or something along those lines.
Love and kisses.
Yeah, love and kisses Vexen.
Gotcha. Everyone in
Or-
chat
or
do
from
that.
Vexen.
So now we're going to announce the next guest next Friday from Motown Downtown. So and then we will go on with the raid. I will be back this Monday with Resident Evil 4 Remake. So stay tuned for that. Ben, once again, thank you very much. And I'll see you guys this Monday and next Friday for more Motown Downtown. Bye-bye.
Bye everyone.
Next time on Motown Downtown.
Welcome in. Hope you're having an amazing day today. Why are you so useless? Let me see if I can get my sock up here. You see my sock? I wore socks today because of you. Oh my god. I'm losing it.